Hey Knights, so this is the next four, nine, 10, 11, 12, yeah, like next three chapters, I guess, um, the Swan Twins. So this is chapter 9, Date, Lily's point of view. Jasper was driving us to God knows where. The car was silent until Jasper asked, "So what made you want to move to Forks?" Well, I paused and let out a sigh while I turned to look at him. It's a pretty long story, to be honest. I'm sure I can keep up. He looked at me for a second with those beautiful bronze eyes of his. Then he looked back at the road so we won't crash into something or someone. When my mom and dad got a divorce, my mom decided for me and Bella that Forks wasn't the right place for us to live, so she made us go with her, I explained to him. You wanted to stay? He asked, and he sounded actually interested in what I had to say. Yeah, Forks is and always will be my home. Plus, my mom loved the sun, so we moved to Arizona. Bella loved it, so I decided it would be better for Bella to be happy rather than me. I am more of a person who loves the cold and rain, which may sound kind of strange. No, not at all. I'm the same. I mean, yes, I like the sun, but I would much rather it be raining, he said, and he had turned to look at me again, since we stopped at a red light. I couldn't help but be lost in his eyes. I could stare at his eyes all day if I could, which makes me sound like a total stalker. Oh well. We didn't realize the light turned green until someone behind us honked their horn. Jasper looked away, much to my dislike, and started to drive again. So, continue, he stated. After a few years, she remarried. I paused for a few seconds. Do you not like the guy or something? He asked, turning a corner and continuing a drive to this mysterious place. No, Phil's real nice, I guess, but he's a minor league baseball player, so he travels a lot. Mom would have stayed home with us when he has to leave, but I saw it made her unhappy. So I jumped in and told her me and Bella could stay with our dad. Bella would have much rather stayed in Arizona, but I pulled the sister card on her and made her come with me. Then 2 plane rides later, 1 hour in a car with Dad, and here we are. So you're happy here? He asked, and again he seemed really interested in my story and how I felt. He never stops amazing me. He's interesting, and he listens to what I have to say. Yes, very happy, I responded, and then I said, Okay, now I have a great idea. Why not play 20 questions? He let out a small laugh, and it instantly made my knees weaken. What is this guy doing to me? Okay, you start. Okay, I thought for a moment and came up with a question I've been wondering about. If you and your siblings aren't related, well, besides you and Rose, why do you all have the same eye color? It seemed the question I asked wasn't a good one because he went on tense. Before he responded, he parked the car and got out. I looked outside my window confused, but I saw he pulled up to this cute little Mexican restaurant. Then I saw him coming around to my side of the car and opened my door for me. He reached out his hand to help me out. Once I placed my hand in his, I immediately felt sparks and tingles going up my arm. Clearly not expecting it, I let out a small gasp. With my hand still in Jasper's, he pulled me towards the front of the restaurant. He opened the door for me, and I nodded as a thank you. After the dinner, Jasper thought it would be a good idea to take a walk in the woods that was across the street from the restaurant. Being me, I agreed, and now I'm seriously thinking it was a bad idea. My imagination won't let me have a second of peace since we took our first step into the woods. I keep thinking that I see people behind trees watching us, or I think I keep hearing things like voices, and it's starting to creep me the hell out. Getting those thoughts out of my head, I thought about how dinner went. We talked about ourselves and our likes and dislikes. We laughed and joked around. But something was a little weird about Jasper. I mean, he didn't even order anything, and when I asked him about it, he said he was on a special diet, whatever that means. I was pulled back to reality when I felt something being put in my hand. I looked down and saw Jasper's hand in mine with our fingers intertwined. A smile found its way to my face, and I could feel my blood running up to my cheeks, indicating I was blushing. So, I paused so I could look at him. Where are you taking me this time? He seemed really nervous about something. I wanted to tell you something, but I wanted to do it in private so nobody could eavesdrop. Okay. I cut off before my foot got caught on a root, so I was about to tumble to the ground. But before I did... Can you shut my door, please? Thank you. But before I did, I felt strong arms wrapped around me. I looked up at Jasper to see he looked worried. He worries about me? No, that's so sweet. But I couldn't help but blush slightly from embarrassment. Then I felt Jasper slightly hold on to me tighter. Why? I have no idea. Are you all right? He asked me and pulled me slightly up so I could place my feet fully flat on the ground. How did he catch me so fast? And how did he lift me like I weighed nothing? Yeah, I'm okay, but I think that brute wants me to die from embarrassment, I said, but muttered the last part, low enough so Jasper couldn't hear me. But then he started to laugh about something. Did he hear me? I was talking so low he shouldn't have heard me. Maybe I'm just losing my mind. We're almost there. He kept his hand in mine and started to pull me towards wherever he wanted to show me. Or tell me. After about 5 more minutes of walking, we came across this meadow with this small pond that had a waterfall. It was beautiful. Wow. He laughed again and pulled me to the middle of the meadow. You like it? Like it? I love it. It's so beautiful, I told him while I turned around in circles so I could see every part of this meadow. When I turned back around, Jasper was just staring at me intently. He looked really nervous, almost scared. Hey, you all right? I asked, actually worried about him. I found myself really falling for Jasper after tonight. I'll only say that much. There's just something I need to tell you, and I don't know how you're going to react, he said, he just added to my worry. Jasper, you're scaring me. What's wrong? I asked him. He paused and walked up towards me. Please, don't run away. I nodded. There was this little voice inside my head telling me I should run and not stop until I'm safe. But then there's this other voice telling me to stay and to listen when he has to stay. I chose to listen to the voice telling me to stay because I trust Jasper, and something is really bothering him, and I plan to find out so I can help. Do you believe in the supernatural? He asked. What? Why would he ask that? I guess. I don't know. I've never really put much thought into it, I answered honestly. Then I started to put the pieces together. When I almost fell, he grabbed me too fast, humanly possible. When I murmured about the root, he heard me even though I said that too low for anyone to hear. And when I blushed, he tensed up like the blood going to my cheeks really bothered him. Then everything clicked. Vampire. Chapter 10. The Truth. Lily's point of view. Vampire. No, I'm just jumping to conclusions. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. There's no way that vampires exist. There's absolutely no way. Vampire whispered too low for Jasper to hear. Honestly, it was a trick to see if he actually heard me. I looked up at him and he nodded his head. Oh my god. Vampires? I took my hand from his and took a step back from him. Honestly, I wasn't afraid. I just needed a little space so I could grasp all this. So, Jasper's a vampire. Wow. I never thought I would say that in my life. You aren't afraid, Jasper said, but he sounded like he was absolutely positive that I wasn't scared. I'm not, just shocked. No, I replied boldly. You should be, he said to me, and took a step towards me. He was probably seeing if I would take another step back, but I didn't. I stood my ground. You won't hurt me. In fact, I knew he wouldn't hurt me. How do you know that? He asked, taking another step towards me, and again, I stood my ground. Now he was right in front of me. Our chests were almost touching, and I could hear my heart about to burst from my chest. Not from being scared, but from being nervous. Jasper makes me nervous. If you're going to hurt me, you would have done it by now. It's true. He could have hurt me a long time ago, but he didn't. And I trust you. We may have just met, but I trust you, Jasper. I was about to grab his hand, but he was gone right before I could move. I turned all the way around, and I couldn't see him. He was completely gone. You really shouldn't trust me so easily, I heard from behind me. I spun around to see Jasper standing there. How? I asked, amazed at how fast he moved. Then I knew why. Vampire tricks. I took a couple steps towards him. When I was right in front of him, I said, What is it going to take for you to understand that I truly trust you? Instead of saying anything, he just leaned his head down and kissed me. It took me a second to process what was happening, but once I did, I moved my lips against his. I felt Jasper put one of his hands on my waist and another on my cheek. I placed my hand on his that was on my cheek and my arm around his neck, while my free hand tangled in his soft, honey blonde hair. The kiss was sweet and slow, but it still had a lot of passion with it. I had to pull away from something called oxygen. Stupid lungs. Wow, I whispered with a smile on my face. I realized I was still in his arms, and I didn't care. I felt safe. I know a normal person would have run away screaming, but normal was so overrated. I guess I believe you now, Jasper said with one of his famous smirks. Can I ask a few questions? I asked. I was really interested in knowing a lot about vampires now. Yes, you can. He released his hold on me and grabbed my hand. Okay, but first, I need you to hop on my back. Wait, what? Hop on his back? What? I asked, really confused. Just hop on, he said, bending down so I could hop on a lot easier. I grabbed his shoulders and jumped on. Okay, now I would close my eyes if I were you. Okay, I'm trusting you on this. I closed my eyes, and then I felt rushing wind on my face. I felt like I was going to fall off, so I held on tighter to his neck and waist. Then we stopped, and I knew because I didn't feel the wind on my face or in my hair anymore. I opened one eye and then the other, and I saw what made me speechless. We were close to the edge of a cliff, and the water below was glistening because of the bright full moon. I jumped down from Jasper's back and walked out from behind him. Okay, now you can ask all the questions you want. Then he sat down on the ground, and I sat right next to him. Okay, I'll ask something simple first, I said, and tried to get comfortable in the hard ground. What other abilities do you have? We are more faster and stronger. Also, our senses are heightened. We smell things no one can smell, hear things better, and see things better. But something that's bad about being a vampire is the uncontrollable thirst. When you get older, you learn to control it better, but it's always still there. And some vampires have special abilities, like powers, you could say, Jasper explained, looking intently into my eyes. What kind of power? I asked, completely interested. Like Alice can see the future, Jasper told me. Really? I asked. Yes. Yes.
How's Stevie?
Good.
Did you play anything on and see how it looks?
Not yet.
Really?
Yes.
The whole point is to look at it and see how it looks.
Dad, I'm recording.
Come see, watch the movie, and then come watch it. Just come down.
Okay, let me finish this. Like Alice can see the future, Jasper told me. Really? I asked. Now it makes sense. She knew Jasper was going to tell me their secret, so that's why she made me make that promise to have an open mind. So can the rest of your family see the future like she can? I questioned. No, it's just Alice. But Edward can read minds, but for some reason he can't read yours or Bella's. It's quite frustrating for him, Jasper said with a small laugh at his brother's frustration. And I can feel and control people's emotions. So Edward can't read mine or Bella's mind? Why? I asked Jasper. No one completely knows, but Carlyle believes that both of you have a block of some kind on your minds, he explained, hoping to make more sense. Okay, I know you have more questions for me. Yeah, and don't take this question the wrong way, I said, and he nodded his head. I let out a sigh to calm my nerves so I could ask this simple question. Do you like kill people? No, Jasper says with a laugh, and it makes me think I asked a dumb question. My family thinks of ourselves as vegetarians because we only drink from the blood of animals, not humans. Is that why all of your siblings have the same eye color? I asked again, but I worded my question differently from when I asked in the car before we ate dinner. Yeah, but unlike last time, he answered my question. How do you turn into a vampire? A vampire has to bite you and put their venom in your bloodstream, Jasper said, and he let out an unmuted sigh. But it is very difficult to do, and not many of us have the strength to do it. But don't you just have to, bite? I questioned, confused. No, not exactly, Jasper said, but paused for some unknown reason. When we taste human blood, a sort of frenzy begins, and it's almost impossible to stop. Okay, just to warn you, the next question may be a little bit more difficult to answer. I give him a heads up about my next question, because I know it will be hard to answer.
Who's friendshipy?
Can you stop? I'm recording.
I know. Do I look like I give a shit?
I think I can handle it, Jasper told me, and sent a smile, probably to tell me it was okay to ask. Why me? I asked him with a shrug of my shoulders. I mean, it's not like you go around telling everyone your secret. So why tell me all of this? You're right, this question is difficult, he said, and let out a breath of air. Well, vampires have mates. Sort of like soulmates. When a vampire first sees their mate, they just know. And when I first saw you, I knew I couldn't live without you. I had to know you. Wow, I breathed. I was shocked, but I was also happy and excited. So, I'm your mate. Yes, Jasper said without hesitating to answer my question. So now I only have one more question. Jasper's point of view. It seems like when I told her about Mink, she got all nervous because of the emotions I was getting from her. But I was also getting waves of excitement, happiness, and many other happy emotions. When I told her about how you turn into a vampire, I hoping she wouldn't ask how I was turned. And I keep hoping she won't ask. But it seems like I wasn't going to get what I wanted. Jasper, how are you turned? Chapter 11, Story of Jasper Turning. Jasper's point of view. Jasper, how are you turned? Lily asked from her spot next to me. Her question caused my body to become tense, and I became seriously nervous. Apparently, she saw how nervous I became to tell her about my horrible past. You don't have to tell me if you don't want to. No, it's okay, I said, and took off my brown leather jacket, and then rolled up my sleeves to my shirt so Lily could see my scars. Wow, she stated, and started to trace one of the many bite marks with her fingers. Because of her touch, a shiver of pleasure went down my spine. Me and Alice weren't turned by Carlisle like the rest of our siblings, I said, and kept letting her trace all of my scars on my arms. These are battle scars from when I was first turned into a newborn. Newborn? Like a new vampire? She questioned, looking up from my arms to my face and into my eyes. Yeah, all the training the Confederate Army gave me. It was useless against the newborns, but still, I never lost a fight, I said to her. So this happened during the Civil War? She asked with excitement in her voice to hear and learn more about me and my story. But deep down inside, I wish she wouldn't be so excited to hear more about me and my newborn years. I nodded my head. I was the youngest major in the Texas Cavalry, but I had never seen any real battle. Until I paused before going into the actual story. Everything past this part of the story was a living hell for me. Until I met a certain immortal, Maria. I was riding horseback to Galveston after evacuation a column of women and children. When I saw her, I paused and let out an unneeded sigh from my lips. But being the southern gentleman I was, I instantly offered her and her sisters my aid. That's when she turned me, and sometimes I wish I hadn't tried to help her and her two sisters. I paused, and Lily seemed to be waiting for me to continue. She looked like a little kid waiting for Santa to come and give her presents or something for Christmas. And it was absolutely adorable, too. She was creating an army. They were very common in the South, the constant brutal battle for territory. Maria wanted it all. She was smart, careful, and she had me. I was only her second in command. My ability to control emotions served her well. I trained her newborns in endless occupation since she never let them live beyond their first year because that's when the newborn's strength and speed start to go down. But because instead of my speed and strength getting slower and weaker, I became stronger and faster than a normal newborn. So that's another reason why she kept me alive for so long. Also, it was my job to dispose of the newborns who reached their 1-year mark. I could feel everything they feel, their fear, pain, and misery just before I had to kill them. I felt my hand being grabbed. I looked down and saw Lily's hand in mine while rubbing the top of my hand with her thumb. Even with a small gesture, it helped calm me down so I can continue to tell her. You don't have to continue to tell me if you don't want to, Jasper, Lily told me, still rubbing her thumb over the top of my hand. And having her say my name caused another shiver of pleasure to erupt inside of me. You're going to have to know sometime. I paused again, because the next part is what I was worried about to tell her. I thought what me and Maria had was love, but I was just her puppet. She used me for her own pleasure. She would punish me when I did something she didn't like, or... I trailed off knowing this part would probably hurt Lily. Or, she questioned while still rubbing her thumb across my knuckles. Or she rewarded me with sex, I said. And Lily sucked in some air, and her thumb stopped moving across my hand that was locked together with hers. Look, I know I fucked up. No, she cut me off from speaking, causing me to look up from the ground. I suddenly found so interesting to her face. It was before it was even a thought. It's okay. You can continue if you want. I sent her a grateful smile, and she instantly returned it. Maria pulled the strings. She used me like I was a piece of property she won on a battle. I didn't know there was another way, a better way, until Alice found me. She saw me coming, of course. She told me about the the better life that I was going to have. She told me about you. Me? Before I was even born? She saw me? She asked, seeming quite confused and impressed. Yeah. Well, that's how I was turned, I sighed again, waiting for her to say something. Anything. But I didn't want to feel her emotions, so I cut my gift from getting her emotions. I didn't want to feel the pity and disgust that I knew she was going to be grating off of her. Then, all of a sudden, she gasped. Is that really how you feel about yourself? Shit, I must have projected my emotions by accident instead of cutting my gift off. While I was trying not to feel her emotions, I must have been giving her emotions of how I feel about myself in my own life. But I didn't say anything to answer her question. Jasper, can you feel my emotions right now? She asked me. Now it was my turn to be a little confused. But nonetheless, I shook my head no to her question. Well, feel my emotions. I reluctantly opened up my gift to her, and I was instantly projected with many emotions that were radiating off of her that I didn't expect. Happiness, joy, amazement, awe, and love. That's how I feel about you, Jasper, and no matter what you say to me will change that. She placed her free hand on my cheek and started to trace the top of my eyebrow, where a small faint scar was placed. You're amazing, you know that? I asked and placed my hand over hers. I've been told once or twice, she joked with a smile. I smiled back to lean my head and placed a long kiss on her soft lips. She immediately kissed me back. Now I know. Now I know that I can't live without Lily in my life. Chapter 12. Tease, Car Wreck, and Hospital. Lily's point of view. I can't believe it's been a full week since I found out that Jasper's a vampire. To me, it still sounds too crazy. I mean, it's not every day you find out that your boyfriend is a vampire. And yes, I did say boyfriend. When I got home from mine and Jasper's first date, Bella told me about Edward. Apparently she thinks he hates her or something. Because during class, he sat as far as he could and later that day he tried to change that class with a different one. Being the great sister I am, I reassured her that it was nothing. And the next day I called Jasper about it, and I figured out what really happened. Well, Bella's blood smelled so good to Edward that if he didn't do those things, then he probably would have killed her, and he had to leave Forks for a while to get his ass in gear. Also, during this week, I got to meet Carlisle and Esme. They were both super nice and caring to me, and they were perfectly fine with me knowing their secret. Also, Alice, Rose, and me have become like best friends now. And like Carlisle and Esme, they were fine with me knowing about them also. And that also goes for Emmett, Blake, and Edward. They called Edward and kept him posted while he was in Alaska, and he was okay with it. Anyway, now I'm getting dressed for school, and I finally decided on a pink, black, and white striped long-sleeve shirt with a pair of dark blue skinny jeans. And with my gray Vans, black scarf, and to top it all off, I straightened my hair for a change instead of curling it or leaving it wavy. Lily, Jasper's here, Bella screamed for me. Oh, and Jasper has been driving me to school every other day now, instead of me and Bella driving that old rusty truck. Okay, 1 sec, I yelled back, and quickly put some mascara on some sparkly chapstick. I looked in the mirror for the final time. I grabbed my black school bag with tiny foxes on it and ran down the stairs. Bye, Bella, see you at school, I screamed and walked out the door. I turned and saw Jasper leaning against a silver four-door Jeep. I walked down the stairs and over to him. When I was about 2 steps in front of him, I slipped on a piece of ice and fell into him. Great. I wish a dark hole would take me now and save me from this embarrassing situation. You okay? He asked worried and helped me stand on my own 2 feet, but kept his arms around me. Yeah, I just hate ice at the moment, I mumbled, but I knew he could hear me. He started to laugh at me. Not funny. It is a little, he said, and placed a gentle kiss on my lips. I instantly kissed back, but Jasper had to pull away too soon. We should get to school. Tease, I said, but nodded anyways. I pecked his lips once more, then got into the Jeep while he walked over to the driver's seat. Now, off to hell we go. At school. I jumped out of the Jeep and Jasper came to stand beside me. He took his hand in mine and started to lead me towards his siblings. Then I saw Edward with him. Yay, he's back. Hey, you're back, I said once we reached them. Yeah, it was time I came back, he said with his hands in his gray jacket. Alice then decided to jump in. Lily, you should spend the night this weekend with me and Rose. That sounds really fun, but I'll have to ask Dad first, but it's a 99% chance he'll say yes. Yay, now I have something to do this weekend. Rose then decided to join the conversation. Yeah, it'll be a girls' night, so you boys will need to go hunting or something. She pointed to every one of her brothers, and Emmett almost daring them to disagree to go. They all nodded their heads, but it seemed like they didn't really care to have a guys' night anyway. Yay! Okay, we have class. We have to get to class. Alice looped her arm through mine and started to drag me with her. And since I was holding Jasper's hand, I pulled him with us. I think that's great of me. One of my best friends and my boyfriend all have the same first hour. I just hope this day goes by fast because all I want to do is go home and spend time with Jasper in my comfy bed. After school, in the parking lot. Finally, today is over. It went by way too slow for my liking. Me and Jasper walked out of school with his arm around my waist and over to where his siblings were talking by Edward's silver Volvo and Rose's red BMW. I want to ask Edward something. So, how did it go today with Bella? It went actually very well, he said, looking over to Bella at her truck. Then a look of terror flooded his features, and he was gone before I could even blink. Did he just vamp speed in the middle of the school parking lot? Is he stupid? Then I heard everyone screaming and yelling. I looked over to where all the noise was coming from, and I saw everyone was crowded around Bella's truck in this dark blue van. Oh my God. I started to quickly jog across the parking lot and over to see if my sister is okay. Once I reached them, I shoved past everyone and saw Bella alive and well. Once she stood up, I pulled her into a hug. Thank God, I mumbled into her hair while she returned my hug. I pulled away first and looked over her head to see if she was bleeding or anything. Are you okay? I'm fine, Lily. Calm down, she tried, reassuring me. But it didn't help until I finally fully checked to see if she was bleeding anywhere. I let out a sigh of relief when I didn't see anything. But how are you okay? What exactly happened? I was trying to see if she remembered Edward running to her in vamp speed, as I like to call it. Edward knocked me out of the way. I could tell she was not telling me all of the story. I'll tell you later. You better, I said. And then I dragged her over to our truck and made her get into the passenger seat while I drove to the hospital. But before I did, I sent a quick text to Jasper to tell him where I'm going. Then I drove all the way to the hospital. In the hospital room. Dad just barged into the hospital room. Bella was on the bed getting her blood pressure from an older-looking nurse. Bella, are you all right? He asked worriedly. Then he pointed to the boy in the next bed named Tyler. He was the one driving the van, and believe me, I said a few words to him that I don't want to repeat. You and I are going to talk. You all right? I'm fine, Dad. Calm down, and don't worry about talking to him. Lily already had a talk with him, she replied, and looked back at the nurse who was taking off the air pressure thingy. Dad looked at me strangely. You did? What did you say to him? Things I don't want to repeat. Ever, I replied to Dad, but not taking my eyes off of Bella. He then turned around and looked at Tyler. You can kiss your license goodbye. Then walked in Carlisle with a small smile on his face. I heard the chief's daughters were here. Hey, Carlisle, how are you doing? I asked him, because I did really like Carlisle, but he trusted me with his family's secret, and he's kind to me. Hello, Lily. And I've been great, thank you, he replied with another smile, and then dismissed the nurse kindly and started to look at Bella's papers. Isabella? Bella corrected him. Well, Bella, looks like you took quite a spill. How do you feel? Carlisle asked, looking up from the papers to Bella. Good, she replied. Look here. He raised his pointer finger and then flashed a mini flashlight into her eyes. Then he said something I don't understand. I think you'll just be fine. I'm really sorry, Bella. I cut off his apology by closing the side curtain, because that was like the 10,000th time he's apologized, and it was getting quite annoying. It would have been a whole lot worse if Edward wasn't there. He knocked me out of the way. She seemed a little nervous to say that. Edward, Lily's boyfriend's brother, your boy? Dad asked me and Carlisle. Oh, and Dad met Jasper about 2 days after our first date, and Jasper wanted to officially introduce himself. And surprisingly, Dad liked Jasper, which kind of scared me. Yeah, it was amazing. He got over to me so fast, he was nowhere near me. I could she was trying to get a reaction from Carlisle. Carlisle looked over to me for a tiny second, and I looked back at Bella's papers. Well, it sounds you were very lucky. Lily, can I speak to you for a moment? Yes, of course, I replied, and followed Carlisle out of the room. We walked down to the waiting room where I saw Rose, Edward, and Jasper sitting in the chairs. Okay, I think we can talk now, Carlisle said, leading us down another hallway, and then we all stopped. Okay, first things first, I would like to say thank you for saving Bella, I told Edward, because I know it was going to happen next. Rose is going to yell at Edward for what he did at school. You're welcome, he replied to me with a nod of his head. What is wrong with you? Rose Whisper yelled. What was I supposed to do? Let her die? Edward asked back a little harsh. This isn't just about you. It's about all of us. Rose pointed to every one of her family members and to me. I think we should finish this in my office, Carlyle said, looking down the hallway. I followed his eyes and saw Bella almost around the corner looking at us. How long has she been standing there? Can I talk to you for a minute? She asked Edward. Rose, Carlyle started to lead Rose down the hallway and probably to his office. Me and Jasper followed close behind them so we can give Edward and Bella a little privacy. Once we were all inside Carlyle's office, I decided to speak first. Before anyone asks, I'm not going to lie to Bella. Yes, I will try to get her to drop it, but I won't lie to her. We wouldn't ask you to lie to your sister, Lily, Carlyle said, sitting in his chair behind his desk. Since there was only 2 seats in front of the desk, I had to sit on Jasper's lap while Rose sat in the other one. I mean, I don't mind, but I couldn't help but slightly blush. Okay, what is wrong with me? Before I met Jasper, I never blushed, but now I seem to every time I'm freaking near him. Okay, and Lily, yes? Carlyle leaned his elbows on top of his desk. Can you try to figure out all Bella saw? Of course, I replied. Then I felt my phone vibrate in my front pocket. Wow, I'm glad I didn't put it in my back pocket today. That would have not been good for me, since I'm sitting on Jasper's lap, and that would have been really awkward. I pulled my phone out to see I had a text from Bella saying that she's ready to go. I have to drive Bella home, but I'll call one of you guys to fill you in on what she knows. I turned my head around and kissed Jasper's cheek and got up. I walked out of Carlyle's office and out of the hospital. I found mine and Bella's truck to see her already inside. I jumped inside and I drove us home in silence. I do hope she didn't see much, because I really am not going to lie to her about anything. But I also don't want her to know about any of this yet. Okay, so I'm going to end there with a little bit of drama. Yeah, alrighty. Peace out, Knights.